Hi everyone. Okay. Oh, there we go. Great. Okay. Hello. I will give you a few minutes or a few seconds to get on to make sure you guys see my post that I'm live. I'm just going to make sure it is live. In fact, refresh my screen here. Okay, I think we have one person on there, so we are live. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, tell me if you're joining. Write in the comments who you are, if this is your first time, if you're a returner. I don't know, write something about yourself that will help me conversation-wise. I am Christine Josty of Mail Something Pretty, and I'm going to show you today the differences, some of the differences between white ink and white embossing powder. I had a question maybe a week or so ago from Nancy, who I'm sure will be joining on, and she wanted to know when she was stamping with the white, it wasn't becoming as vibrant as some pictures she saw online and what was going on. So I told her, and then I thought this would be a good topic for our live today. So great. So we have a couple of people on. Perfect. There we go. Hi, Ginger. Oh, great. I love seeing returning names or people I kind of know, and I love seeing brand new people. So definitely in the comments, have a little conversation going, and I'll try to keep watching them and join in. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll just get right to it. Hi, Kim. Great. All right. We are going to, I'm going to flip the camera. So give me a second. I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to pull it down, and then I'm going to plug in the microphone, because one time someone said, make sure we're in the right spot here, that they couldn't hear me. So just click this in and see. Let me know if it makes a difference. Sorry if they were static there. Okay, so I have my microphone on. Let me know if, I don't know if you see a difference or not, but I want you to be able to hear me. And I'm just trying to get, it would be nice to have like a real setup that I didn't have to keep adjusting anything. I'm telling you, I have this table in the corner of my bedroom, and that's where I am. All right, so pull that down a little bit more. Okay, I think, and then just trying to, it's fairly straight. All right, it's kind of straight. I think my little mat's off. Straight enough, right? Good enough. Okay, so I'm going to make 2 cards with you, and then I have a third to show you. So these are 2 cards that I made, here we go, using white, actually both white ink and white embossing powder. So I use the white embossing powder for the words, but I'm going to show you. I have some that don't have it. And then I stamped the back, the snowflakes with the white. So that's kind of one of the highlights of using white, is to stamp on a colored, or really any color, cardstock. To have that whiteness. And this one I'll show you is I actually embossed it and then brushed some white onto those ferns. So it's kind of cool. So I'm going to make the snowflake one first. And I will go through some tips along the way. Alrighty, we get more people in here. Perfect. Debbie joined us. Julie's joined us. Kim, Marilyn. It's the same here. Hello from Vermont. Oh, great. All right, sweet people from all over the place. Perfect. I love that. All right. So these are my stamps. I already have them on the blocks. I'm going to use a piece of cardboard. And actually, before I start, these are not fully my ideas. I went online, right? So I was searching for an answer, and everything, every answer is online. And I came across a video from Jackie Williams, who I actually know. She's in a group that I'm in. And she's an amazing stamper, and her style is very different than mine. And I think that's important for me to incorporate different styles, because not everyone has the same style as me. So anyways, I watched her video, and I wrote it here because I want to give her full credit. She did a video on the 5 ways to use your Whisper White ink pad. So I said that's exactly what I was looking for. I'm going to only show you a couple of the ways. She had used with the re-inker. She did some really cool things with the re-inker that I think I'll do another time. But for today's video, I'm just going to use the ink pad. So anyways, this is, if you just Google ways to use your white ink pad. I'm sure it will come up, but that was the blog post. So I just want to give her credit. I'm seeing it's crooked, but I think you can still read it. All right. So this one, this design actually is mine. Another one I'll show you. I kind of copied her, which is really not my design. This is more my style. So I have all my pieces are kind of. Just drop something. I always drop something. Some gems. We'll put some gems on after. All right. So I decided, actually, I originally was going to do this as a portrait snowflake card, but then I used this sentiment and it was going to take up the whole thing, and I wanted you to be able to see some ribbon on the side. So then I just changed it to a portrait card, and so that's the inside and that's the outside. So I used Night of Navy base, which is here, which I've already pre-cut everything. I just take one sheet of cardstock and I cut it in half on the 4 1/4, and then I scored it at 5 1/2 rather than do it the other way, which I did on the other card. So we'll do that. So that's my card base. And I was just trying to think of some colors that maybe don't always go together. I used Starry Sky, and I originally was just going to do Starry Sky and Navy, and I thought it needed something to break up that difference. It wasn't quite harmonious. And so that's when I came up with the Fresh Fuchsia, because of this ribbon. It's iridescent and it already has some like purple to it. So that's kind of my thought process on picking my colors. All right, so get back to why I have cardboard. That's got me thinking about Jackie, because she used it. I think it just absorbs the ink. So a white ink pad it says on here craft, which is different than our regular ink pads. Let's see. So this is just an old style. It still works. Craft, it says it's a pigment ink, which means it's more like a paint, and you'll see it's really wet. And so the cardboard kind of absorbs some of that. And it takes a little while to dry. So I actually have some things that are pre-stamped because I need them to dry. But that's the difference. This is a classic and this is just a craft. A long time ago they had other colors in craft, but right now they just have the white. So if you get one, it actually comes in a set now. You get the ink pad and the white re-inker, and the ink pad will come uninked, so it's like empty. And so you have to put the ink into it. Why they do that, honestly, I'm not sure. I don't know if in the transfer, because it's a wetter ink, if they think it will leak, or I really don't know. But it comes uninked, and mine's recently inked, but you just put a bunch of dots on it, and I usually take like an old gift card and wipe it down in there, and then you can decide on how much ink and how little ink you want on there. All right, so let's see. Great. So I already have, I'll show you what stamps that I'm using, because I think the white ink is obviously it's perfect for snowflakes, right? So I'm using the Joyful Flurry set. There are dies that come with it, but I'm not using them for this card. It's pretty much just the background anyways, just straight stamping. So I'm going to, so you can kind of see, maybe, it's wet. It's like, it's paint. So when you stamp it, you can kind of see now too, it stamps nice and bright and dark and like, yes, that's what I want. But then when it dries lighter. So just keep that in mind. And that's why I use the embossing, which I'll show you some samples for the words, because they're a little bit lighter. So it goes on nice and vibrant, but then it dries. Let's see. I stamped the other ones kind of, I'm just trying to stamp the same I did it in the portrait position. Alrighty. So see how that one's kind of, it's fine, but you can see how wet it is on there because it's a little stamp. I'll do the big one, just kind of randomly copying my previous sample. Oops. All right, one more. All right. So it's, like I said, it's wet. top is a side. So I do have another one. And you can kind of see the differences too, right? So I just stamped the top one and the bottom one I did earlier today. You can see it mellows out a little bit, not horribly, but it definitely is not as bright as the initial stamp. So I can let this, which I will, I'm going to let this sit aside and dry, or you can use your heat gun if you have a heat tool, just on the low setting, because it will just help it dry. So I'm just going to put that aside, and then I will just finish putting this together. And then I'll show you the differences. I have, to find my glue, I have words that are done both in the ink and the white embossing powder, so you can see the difference on those two, and then we'll decide which one we want. I did this as a nice skinny little border. Did it as a skinny little border. All right. Just checking to make sure. Nope, I didn't miss any comments. So I'm going to show you. This is a trick I learned like when I first started stamping. Find my ribbon. I could take this and wrap it around and tie a knot or a bow, or I could do a hack. If you wanted to save your ribbon, it saves a little bit. I'm just going to place it there. So I just want like maybe an inch and an inch on either side. Cut it. I'm going to place it. I don't really want it in the middle, so I'm going to place it there. And if I used a tape runner, I would just put a tape runner down, but I pretty much use glue, so I'm just going to use regular old-fashioned Scotch tape to tape that down. I'm going to use that on the next card as well. So then you have your line there, and now I'm going to put this on the card. And I'll show you another benefit of doing it that way rather than tying. Because sometimes if you tie a knot, or if you go all the way around, and then the knot or the bow's not exactly in the right place you want it. So this, I'm going to slide this under. And I'm only doing a knot, I'm not doing a bow. This way. Just doing a single knot, like that, and I'll cut it. But you can move this knot, well, of course there's glitter on it, so it's harder to move, but generally you can move it, or you can, I think I did it too tight. See how it does move? It has all that glitter on it, so it's a little harder. So I'm going to want to do it. This is fun. This is still current ribbon, and like I said, there's kind of glitter in it, and it picks up a lot of different colors, but it definitely has a purple, pink kind of, and maybe a light blue hue to it. All right, so these are, kind of did two. So this one, I already did the embossing. It has white embossing powder, so it's nice and vibrant and crisp, and you can see it. This one I did with the white ink, and it was darker when I first did it, but it mellows out. So that's really the difference between the two. And it might depend on your card. You might want more of a mellow, washed, no, I shouldn't say washed out, but a lighter white on here. But for this particular card, with the magic of the glitter and the snowflakes, I kind of want it darker. So I'm going to use this one, but I just wanted you to see the difference. So if you're ever online looking at people's card samples, I would say 95% of the time, maybe even more, they're using white embossing powder for their words, because that's nice and crisp. I think people sometimes forget about white ink. I know I have in the past, kind of forget that I have it. So I just trimmed some of the edges of my dimensionals, because I'm going to put it so it I always say it straddles the ribbon. Because if it was on the ribbon, then it would be a little bumpy. Okay, we got more people on here. Hello, Polly from North Carolina. You might not, oh, look at, I put them on, shoot, I put them on the wrong ones. You might not get too many snowflakes, but I'm going to make another card too that's not snowflakes. Hey, I was talking, not paying attention. Okay, it's messy, but that doesn't matter because it's going to be underneath. Okay, so then to finish it off, I'm just going to add a few of these iridescent gems, which I think pair really nicely with this ribbon because it's kind of the same thing. All right, I have 2 sheets here, but I used all the big ones in my other projects, and I'm just copying kind of where I placed them before. I take too long when I'm trying to decide while I'm doing a card in person. That's why I always try to have samples. Otherwise I take too long. All right, so there you go. So the snowflakes are stamped with the white ink, and then the greeting is stamped with Versamark ink and the white embossing powder. And I do have, I'll just do it later, I do have an inside to put on that one, but I'll do that after. Okay, let's see. Next card, I'm going to put the cover on my glue so it doesn't clot. I brought a brand new glue up here because last time I was running out of it. All right. So the next card is using an embossing folder. So it's a really cool technique, and it works. It probably works with every type of embossing folder, but I think it might work better with the 3D embossing folders. And I've told you guys before, I label my 3D embossing folders, so I don't have to think. I know when I see that I'm going to use that. I have it right here. I use this gray plate, which I've also labeled 3D. So usually when you run them through the machine, you have your white base, you put your embossing folder and the paper inside, and then you put this on top. So you only need two pads with the 3D ones. So I didn't actually have a chance yet to do the wood grain, but I thought that would actually look nice with different browns with white on it. But I did do all these other ones to show you before I make the card. All right, so this is the first one I did. So the honeycomb, which actually I can show you that card. This is where it all started. I saw Jackie made a similar card, and she used a different stamp set that is no longer available. And it was a distinctive stamp. It was the, some of you might even have it, the Camellia. I think it was called the Camellia stamp set from Celebration maybe a year ago. It was beautiful. And it had so much depth in the designs of the flowers. And she actually, in that video that I shared, she does all 5 of her cards with that set. So anyways, I changed mine to Forever Ferns because I used, oh, well, in the card I'm going to use, now we're using ferns. But anyways, so this is the Hive embossing folder. So it looks, you can use both sides. I used that one, and then I put a little, I used another strip, put a little white on there. But that's kind of how this started, but I'm going to show you a different card. But anyways, so I got some white on there, and I'm going to show you how I did it. This is the fern just on the other side. So this card used this side. I just wanted to show you really can get white on both sides. And these are both sides of the, I forget what it's called, Winter Woodland or something. I don't remember. So you can use, you can put the, so you can kind of see the difference. That's the normal garden green color, and that's with the white on it. And then when I started, the first time I did it, I'm going to show you how I did it. I'll keep that aside, actually. That's not what I wanted it to look like. The snowflake, I did both sides. So it depends on how much white you put on there, too, on how much you see. All right, so let me show you how to do this. Get these out of the way. So I have my white ink pad. I'm definitely going to use my cardboard here, and this is just backing from some designer series paper. I save them and use them for all sorts of things. All right, so I already embossed with, there it is, the fern embossing folder. Okay, so I'm gonna do, I actually kind of like the side that I did. So that's the raised side. Okay. So what Jackie did in her video, she actually took her ink pad and just swiped it. but my ink pad had too much white on it, too much ink on it, and that's what happened. So that's not, it's like slurry. That's not what you want. So another way I came up with is I'm using those artist sponges. So these, it's like a full circle, they call them artist sponge, and I just cut them in segments, and then I just stapled on a piece of cardstock just to give me a little handle, and I'm just going to dab it in the ink and start light at first, because you can always add, you can't take away. You see how those ferns just kind of come to life? I'll turn my paper around. I'm going to go in 2 directions just to make sure you get it. And it's a subtle effect, but it's really kind of cool. It really just brings up those ferns. Okay, so I would normally probably set that aside just to dry a little bit, but I'm not going to. I'm going to start making our card. Oh, the other thing you can do is you could take your ink pad and edge it, or I'm just gonna little edging. Okay, because I'm using the evergreen color, kind of tone on tone. So by putting a little edging on here, that's going to separate. You'll see that when I put it on the card base, make it pop a little bit more. And then you start little, and you can always add on more. Okay. Alrighty, and this is going to be reserved for white ink. So I could probably wash it out. Oh, and actually, look at me randomly. I had talked about this in an email a few weeks ago about cleaning your stamps. And if you want to clean your stamps from the white, I would suggest don't just clean it directly. I would stamp off a bunch to get some of that white ink off first before then you clean it. And you can kind of see that there is some white in here. I did this earlier today, and I ran some water, wrung it out, and that white disappeared. So you can use it, but just stamp off first, just to get, because, you know, why get that all gunky? All right, so here's my card base. This is Evening Evergreen, the color. And you see now it really, even though they're both the same color, adding that white really kind of makes it slightly a different hue. All right, so I'm just going to glue that down. Find my glue. All right, we'll get some comments. Oh, Diane, welcome from Michigan. Thanks for joining. Oh, good. I'm glad you like it, Polly. Yeah, it's something that I think a lot of us forget about. But it just, you know, it just elevates what you can do. And there are more things you can do with the, I was saying at the beginning, with the white embossing, no, the white refill, which I'll do another time. I didn't want to make today too long. I just feel like it's not transferring, so it's fairly dry. All right, so I have the rest of my pieces here. So again, this is the difference between the two. I stamped this earlier just so it would dry. So that's with the white ink, and then that's with the white embossing powder. So there really is a significant difference. But for this particular card, it's okay with the softness versus the crisp of the white. Maybe I'll do both. I'll do this card and this one so you can kind of see both the difference. All right. So what I did is, so I used the Forever Fern stamp in that other. Oh, I'm gonna stamp on the inside. Did I bring? Yeah, I did. I just figured Forever Fern goes with the fern embossing folder, which is funny though because there's really not much of a fern stamp in here, but that's okay. But I'm going to use this stamp for the inside. So let me do that first, and then that will dry for a second. It is a big stamp, so I have it on my big block. And I only want part of it. Okay. So I'll let that dry for a second. That's going on the inside. And I did use the greeting Oh no, it wasn't from this one. I used the greeting from this one on this card. So I used that same stamp, this same stamp here. And I used one of the die cuts in the dies that go with the forever ferns. And I used this set. So that's kind of, this is where I started with my whole process, and then I morphed. But for this one, I thought this is nice. Sometimes we don't have necessarily masculine cards when we need to send a thinking of you card. So I have someone I can send this to. So I thought that was good. So I got it from the Flowering Tulips. So that's where that sentiment is. But see what you have. All right, so here we go. And I cut this piece out of that same, the dies, the ferns dies. But I'm going to show you something on here. And I did a circle. I thought that kind of mimicked some of the frostiness, the white of the fern with the vellum. I love to use vellum anyways. I'm going to put this together first. I'm just trying to find something so you can see the vellum. Oh, here we go. I think you can see it better on here. Yeah. All right, so we're going to put this together first. So when I originally was doing it, it looked pretty, but I wanted you to see more of I thought the Cajun Craze worked really nicely with the Evening Evergreen, but I wanted it bigger. So here's what I did. I cut it. So what I'm going to do is just glue it down like this. Because the circle's going to go in front, you're never going to know. So feel free to cut your images. And I'm building it on the vellum first, because then we don't like to see so it's kind of still on the same line. We don't like to see the glue through the vellum. So I'm doing it this way first. I'm just going to make it flush rather than popped up, because we're going to pop up the whole thing. So then it goes on top. And I'm going to flip that over and use my dimensionals. And actually, I'm going to lift it up with my hands just so I can see where that the green circle is, because I don't want to put the dimensionals where it's just the vellum. So that's my little tip on making your images a little bit bigger. Oh, I'm not going to put it on yet because I use some linen thread. And it looks pretty this way, but I just thought it needed just something else. So this is like no exact science on here. Just kind of put it down. Just gonna guess, make sure. Yep, that's fine. I'm gonna use that Scotch tape because the circle's gonna go right on top of that. And then you can pull and play if you want, but it's actually not that bad. Like that. Play with it a little bit. If you wanted to cut one of the loops, you can, to have two ends. How about we do that? We'll cut this one. All right, and then we'll just finish it off with, hello Cheryl, thanks for joining us. Just finishing up the second card. I'll show you what were made though, and then you can always go back on the replay. I'm just going to use one of these, I think. Yeah. These, what are they called? Brush metallic or something? Rustic? I don't remember what they're called, but I like the color. Again, a little bit more masculine gem than the pearls or shiny things. So here's the difference between the two. Right, so this one was done with the white embossing powder, and this one's done with just the white ink. Because when I stamp it, I don't think I brought any green, but I'll show you on the blue. I know I have the stamp here. When you stamp it, well, it's hard to tell because of different colors, but it's more vibrant, and then it will dry. It will lessen as it dries. All right, let me just throw this on here. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm just finishing up the inside of this card. Let me know if you like the ink. You know, you can get a little messy because it is like paint, so that's why I kept checking my fingers, but I think I did pretty good. But you can see I got some white on here. You just let it dry. Do a little bit, set it aside, go back to it. I really like this color combination. Asian Craze and Evening Evergreen. All right, so I'll pull out the other card, the snowflake card. And I'll do it this way. Where's the other one I made? This one I just showed you, I didn't make it, but it was the same process. I did the sponging on the honeycomb exact same way I did it on the fern. And then this is why it's not my style at all, but I like it. So it's good to get out of your comfort zone. So I ripped some of the paper, and then I put a second piece, I ripped some of the paper, stamped on here, ripped some paper, and I even stamped the same image on the back, on the bottom here, as well as I opened this up and stamped around the edges, and then put the white on the inside. So it gives a little bit of dimension on the inside. Kind of see the difference. So there you go. Again, the white ink pad comes uninked, so it comes as a set. So you get the white re-inker with the empty or blank ink pad and just kind of put the ink on it. If I had less ink on here, you could go over it, but you just practice. But remember when I did that, well, I don't know where it went. It didn't look good. So just try on some scrap paper. Alrighty, so that's what I had for you today. Trying to think, I think there's a couple things going on. Is Stampin' Up related. There's the weekly deals I sent in my email. Today's Wednesday. Today's the last day for the current deals. Trying to think what was on there. The craft paper, the craft note cards and envelopes, which I used for the Scotty Dog class that I did. They're perfect, and actually you get a craft box in that set of the note cards, so you can even make a gift box, which is one of my videos. I made a shortbread box out of that box. That's on sale. The 6x6 craft paper is on sale, and I use that a lot from the tag bases because it's nice and it's really sturdy. The Splendid Day Designer Series paper is on sale. It's hard to express how beautiful it is unless you see it actually in person. It's just gorgeous. So that's on sale. I'm trying to think what else in there is on sale. But there will be new deals tomorrow. So you can wait and see what it is tomorrow too. And is there anything else going on? I thought there were two things. Oh, the World Card Making Day is coming up. That's October 1st. And you can register for that. It's free. Stampin' Up's doing a virtual World Card Making Day for everyone around the world. So there's a link on my blog, mailsomethingpretty.com, where there's a registration link to sign up. And again, it's free. And you will, when it gets a little closer, they'll send you, if you wanted to make the projects that they're making, they'll send you a supply list and measurements and that kind of stuff. Or you can always make it after the fact because you can rewatch the videos. And there are 3 bundles, 3 stamp sets and die sets that they're going to be showcasing. And that stuff's on my blog too. I just don't remember the names of them, but they're all available if you wanted to actually do the projects live, like alongside them, or you just watch and then you can do it later. So I think those are the 2 September things that are going on for Stampin' Up. Alrighty, I really appreciate you spending the time with me today. Thank you. I know it's kind of the middle of the day for some of us, depending on the time zone you're in, but I really appreciate it, and so thank you. And I will be here next Wednesday. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, so if you have ideas, please send them my way, because I always like suggestions. It really helps me figure out what to show you, or what to teach you, and what you want to learn, and what you want to see made. So send all your suggestions my way. Have a wonderful day, and happy first week of school. I think it's for a lot of people. Today's, for my town, it's the first day of school, so it's funny to see the school buses around. I haven't seen them in a while. All right, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next week. Bye.